Okay, this is another one of my unscripted opinion videos, like the Leonid one, but this time it's on Milgram. Milgram's third trial has started. Yuno's video has dropped. I'm gonna be talking about my predictions for what their outcomes are gonna be, the final vote. My reasoning, please understand, this doesn't mean I'm correct. That's what a prediction's a guess, and you're probably not gonna agree with me. Just remember that the voting options are forgiven or not forgiven, not innocent and guilt. Just keep that in mind because the phrasing does matter. They are different things. We can't talk about Haruka because you are not able to judge him. I think she's going to be voted forgiven. She has been the past 2 trials with an insane forgiven rate. I think her closest call was the first one. And I don't even know why that happened. I'm going to be very honest here. I think she's gained even more support, especially with her little section for Mahiru. Now, I can't show it, like I can't play it for you. I could probably get a clip of the first line. But she made a tribute to Mahiru in her song. I think that's going to help her out a lot because when it comes to things like this, and this kind of applies to everyone that's left, most of us are voting on our emotions. Not logic, probably not what they did at this point, but what has happened and our emotions on that character. Let's be a little honest here. We're all gonna do that. Also, for Yuno, her documents were shown, right? Like, her crime was fully shown. With the documents, you were able to read it. She didn't even do an abortion. She wanted to keep the kid. She fell. It was an accident. She didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. I don't think people are gonna hold that over her head. I think people are gonna forgive her for it. And she's pulling a lot of heartstrings with her song right now. So, I think my guess stands. I think Yuno's gonna be voted forgiven. I think it's gonna be a pretty big margin. I think some people are voting not forgiven for her, but I think it's like 8%. So, I feel like she's good. She's getting the vote for forgiven. Next up is Futa. I am actually not sure about Futa. I'm gonna be super honest. I think he's in a dangerous gray area. Because he gained a lot of support after Trial 2 because a lot of people agreed with him on his views that he expressed during Backdraft. But then the results of Trial 2 came. First of all, everyone freaked out that he's wearing the cult logo that Amane's in. And when Jackalope revealed he got indoctrinated, and now I could be wrong, and editor me will hopefully take the time to correct me, or you guys will, he was the one that physically killed Cheeto. Futa's a little bit of a gray area. I guess to give a solid answer, I'm actually gonna say not forgiven. Moo! Ooh, she's tricky. I think it's gonna be a similar thing to Yuno, but the forgiven ratio to the not forgiven ratio is not gonna be that big. It's gonna be more of a 50-50. The reason is because, yes, Trial 2, it was a landslide. 70% voted not forgiven for Moo, but here's the thing. Haruka's video came out. Moo was the only one there. She watched him die, and she showed tons of, remorse and, genuine empathy for Haruka. And I think that helped her, because Haruka is one of the more popular characters. I think he's only falls under short to Mikoto, so I think Moo showing a genuine connection, because everyone at the start of Trial 2, everyone thought Moo was manipulating him. And that might hold some weight still, but I don't think that theory holds up as well as it does when Haruka's video came out. So I think there's a pretty decent chance she is gonna be voted forgiven. It's just not gonna be a landslide ratio. We can't talk about Shido because he has passed away, and we cannot talk about Mahiru because she also passed away. Kazui, I think he's gonna be forgiven. I think it's gonna be at least an 80 to 20% ratio. Why? He's gay. I don't think that's a theory anymore. I think he's just genuinely gay. And the thing is, in the more modern day, if you were any form of homosexual or POC or anything like that, a lot of people are typically gonna lean for your support, especially in anime, dude. When there's not that much of it that isn't used in like a inappropriate manner. I think Kazui has that on his back. So yeah, I think he's gonna be forgiven. Whether it's purely on that alone, or something comes up in his voice drama and song that really surprised people. I also like to think, and I have no evidence to support this, but I also like to think that Kazui tried to protect Shido. He obviously failed, but Kazui was the one standing up for people when Kotoko was throwing hands with everybody after trial 2. Or sorry, after trial 1 but before trial 2. I think he tried it again. I just don't think he was successful this time because he's going through his own thing, so he wasn't as like mentally there, you know? Going to Amane. Amane, I think she's gonna be voted not forgiven. Because of the two things. A lot of people are gonna attach Shido's death to her, which you know is true. She outright said it in her voice drama in the second trial. She said she was gonna kill Shido if we voted forgiven, and we voted her forgiven. And because Shido died, Mahiru died too. So now we got two sets of people who have them as their favorites, probably not having a great view of Amane. So I think Amane has a lot of people on her back, but not only is it the Mahiru and Shido fans, I also think the Futa fans are on her ass, because I don't think anyone took Futa getting indoctrinated into her cult the best way. Does she have a chance? I will leave room open for possibility, but I'm gonna say she's voted not forgiven. Also, because I did mention her voice drama earlier, I'm gonna be talking about the one flaw with the voice dramas after I get through the next two. Mikoto! His is tough too. He kinda, I will say, he kinda got screwed over at the start. Trial 1, he kinda got screwed over because he blew up on TikTok and apparently everyone was trying to vote him forgiven, but then those who were focusing on his crime and actions more were like, y'all, we gotta lock in, and I think it was a pretty tight race in the end, but I think it was not forgiven. Then he was forgiven in the second trial because in his voice drama, back to this, I know, and again, I can't pull up the audio because I might get copyrighted, but his alter ego John, short for John Doe, he mentions that he will leave Mikoto alone if we vote him forgiven in trial 2, which we did, and I think it was a pretty large margin in that favor. So I think it's really up in the air. What I think it's gonna hang on is whether, I think it's gonna be his third voice drama, and I think it's gonna be whether the Trikoto theory became true or not. I think that it's gonna binge on those two things a lot, because if the Trikoto thing is true, then the events he did before Milgram could repeat, and I think people are not gonna, you know, vote forgiven for that if they know it's just gonna repeat. But yeah, I think it's a very gray area for him. I'm gonna say forgiven for now, but we will have to see. And now Kotoko. I don't know if she can be voted forgiven at this point. I don't think anyone... Well, okay. I'm not going to speak for everybody. That's a little ridiculous. But I think the majority don't typically see her in a forgiving way. Especially not after Trial 1. And I don't think her song in Trial 2 helped her case. Now, granted, she adapted that mentality because of us. I'm not going to ignore that. But that is not how the majority of people took it. Well, actually, no. They did, they regretted it, and they voted her not forgiven because of it. So, yeah. How Trial 3 is gonna go, though, I think it's gonna be not forgiven. I think a lot of people aren't gonna be able to look past what happened after Trial 1. Why? Because she wounded Mahiru, and Mahiru died to those wounds. So there were two reasons she died. The fact that she got the wounds, and the fact that Shido could no longer treat them because, you know, Shido was killed. Yeah, I don't see Kotoko being viewed in a I'm able to forgive you kind of light by a good majority of the people. So my verdict for her is not forgiven. Also, I'm going to be very honest. My experience with the voice dramas, I didn't know they were a thing until Mikoto's second trial. I genuinely did not know about them before that point. And I think that's part of the problem. Because when you're putting so much key information in these voice dramas and then not bringing it up to other people, like, it's not like the audios themselves. If you go to their website, I don't see it there. If you go to their YouTube page, the audios aren't there either. So, like, why is something so important being so hidden? If we had easier access to the voice dramas, I feel like the votings would have been way different. I think Trial 2 and Trial 1 would have gone way differently. If the voice dramas had just been accessible. The only time I see these things is like this one person who's fan translating all of them, and that's on the Miracle. It shows up in your feed. Assuming you don't think it's fake, right? So, like, if the only way, for my understanding, is this only applies to global fans, I think JP probably had access to it. That's my assumption. But if your only access is a fan translation, I feel like that's a little fucked. I'm not sure how else to put it. So I think that's also really the only real flaw with how they set up Milgram, was just the inaccessibility of the voice dramas. That is it. That is my thoughts on who's gonna get what verdict, and a little bit of my views on how the Milgram project approached the voice dramas. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye bye!